Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, September 15, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what that has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let's just take a look at the US National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. We can still see that we have Hurricane Lee right there to the east of the northeastern United States. And to the east of Lee we have Tropical Storm Margot. It has downgraded back to a tropical storm. And to the south of Margot we have Tropical Depression 15 and a new era of possible tropical cyclone development. If we take a look at that new era, it says here, a tropical wave is forecast to move off the west coast of Africa by midweek. Some gradual development of this system is possible thereafter while the system moves westward across the eastern tropical Atlantic. So for the past week, we've been seeing most of these systems drift more to the north or the northwest. This system may have a chance of making its way closer to the Caribbean, so we're definitely gonna have to keep watch to see what happens. As it relates to Tropical Depression 15, we can see that it is right there to the east or the far east of the Caribbean. It has maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour and is moving towards the northwest at 13 miles per hour, where it is expected to strengthen to a tropical storm, then a hurricane, then a possible major hurricane later on by Tuesday. So we'll see exactly what unfolds with that, but most of our focus will be on that era that's coming off of Africa. Alright, let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see Tropical Depression 15 right there as represented by the red L across the main development region. And to the east of Tropical Depression 15, we have a tropical wave. We don't have much taking place across the Caribbean at this time, but we do see right there where we have a cold front right across portions of northern Florida right now. Taking a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with Hurricane Lee still spinning and swirling away to the northern portion of North Atlantic. To the east of Hurricane Lee, Tropical Storm Margot. To the south of Margot, we have Tropical Depression 15 right here. Definitely getting better organized into a tropical storm. We can also see the clouds associated with that era of possible tropical cyclone development soon to emerge off of Africa. Right now we don't see much taking place across the Caribbean, but if we focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video, we'll see that the prediction for today's weather was for some amount of afternoon rainfall across sections of mainly some central and western parishes. And although Kingston and St. Andrew are in the eastern side of the island, eastern parishes, we do get some rainfall some of the times. And we don't really get the rainfall in the Portland and St. Thomas side. It's usually the St. Andrew and Kingston side. So definitely gotten a small amount of rainfall today in central and western Jamaica, as we can see by the post that was made on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok pages at around 3:46 p.m. highlighting the visible satellite images showing clouds building up across those various spots: Kingston and St. Andrew, inland areas of some northern parishes, so southern St. Mary's, southern St. Anne, southern Trelawney, sections of northern St. Elizabeth as usual, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James as usual. And we did indeed have some confirmation on our Instagram page about the rainfall that took place today. We have a little bit of Indians stating, well, me glad my son make it home before it start. I on the other hand, I gotta take a stroll. If me sick, I don't know why, and send Panadol. Another commenter stating halfway through getting it. Then if we skip to another set of commenters, let's see if we can get over to that post. Yes, we'll see Debbie S stating Papine washing away, rain, breeze, thunder and lightning, even power cuts too. And Davine stating always raining in southern St. James and Trelawney. The Black River can never run dry. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see where we had those clouds building up across especially Kingston and St. Andrew. Then we had that burst of convection when those cumulus clouds became cumulonimbus clouds. We had those thunderstorms across the area. Then even in the late evening hours, we still had some amount of thunderstorm activity still taking place across sections of western St. Anne and Trelawney right there. And we can see it even better on the infrared satellite images. We saw that on the visible satellite images when we lost the sunlight, we didn't see what was taking place because it got so dark. On the infrared satellite images, we still are seeing what's going on to a great extent. So we can see that thunderstorm burst across sections of Kingston and St. Andrew earlier today. It caused that amount of rainfall that we got. Even had some video clips being sent in by some of our followers showing the rainfall across the area. And we can also see that rainfall that we just mentioned across sections of Trelawney and western St. Anne. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images right now, we don't see much taking place. What we see here with the greens and the yellows is actually ground clutter, so it's not necessarily any form of rainfall. Hopefully we get the Jamaican radar up and running. As you know, we've been using the Cuban Doppler radar images for the past year, as ours have been unavailable for quite some time. Taking a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, we can see where we indeed had that rainfall across sections of Jamaica today, especially inland areas of some central western parishes in Jamaica. As it relates to the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 29 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 28 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and as usual as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can still see Jamaica embedded in some amount of orange colors. As we can see on the map, that represents up to at least 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the average temperatures for the month of September in Jamaica is about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we take a look at the thermometer, 90 degrees Fahrenheit is about the equivalent of 32 degrees Celsius. So anywhere from 32 to 35 degrees Celsius is what's being expected for tomorrow's temperature across Jamaica. As it relates to the dry air map, we can still see the dry air across the region, just some pockets of yellows across the southern and central Caribbean. Not so much dry air at this time across Jamaica. You can see lots of blues surrounding the island, lots of moist air. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that by 2 p.m. on Saturday, we don't have much taking place across Jamaica at all. Jamaica is, as well as the rest of the Caribbean, are in the blue. Most of the Saharan dust is right there across the main development region, and Africa as indicated by the browns right there that represent the dust. Jamaica is right here under the word port, that stands for Port-au-Prince. So we're definitely getting in on a lot of moist air across the region. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we have more darker shades of blues across eastern and southern portions of the island. So the water surrounding those spots will be getting in on maybe some 1 meter wave heights, while the northern and western side of the island will be getting in on those lighter shades of blues that represent 0.5 meter wave heights. And we see that on the GFS model as well, and that's due to the fact that the winds will be coming in from the east, strongest on the southern and eastern side of the island, maybe averaging up to 15 to 20 knots at most. Not so much with the intensity of the wind speeds across the northern sections and western sections of the island, and not to mention the fact that we're going to be seeing some blues across those very spots across the island, inland areas of some central western parishes. So we could get in on some amount of afternoon convection building again across those very spots that we had it today, especially inland areas of those parishes. Definitely going to be getting in on that daytime heating diurnal convection again. So if we take a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, this is valid for 3 p.m. Jamaica time. As indicated by the Euro, we do see those blues that represent rainfall across sections of the island. The GFS showing something very similar, more than likely central and western parishes, not so much eastern parishes, but definitely Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Southern St. Anne, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover and Westmoreland as usual. So get ready for that. If you have laundry to do, if you have business to do on Saturday, try to get that done early if you live in those areas. And even if we take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, we do see the rainfall across those very spots that were just mentioned, but we don't see the accumulated rainfall totals being the same for the Euro and the GFS model. The Euro model is showing up to 0.2 of an inch of rainfall at most, and that's located across the northwestern portion of the island. We do see some across the southeast, maybe across Kingston and St. Andrew, but that's just 0.16. We can see the difference now with the GFS, with the more totals in the rainfall, stretching from Kingston to Montego Bayside, with the most robust rainfall totals being up to 0.67 of an inch of rainfall. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be getting in on that rainfall, considering that we're in the month of September. We're getting rainfall as we should, as we usually receive an increase in the rainfall across the Jamaica area for this month. Hopefully October brings even more. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we don't see much happening across majority of the Leeward and the Windward Islands at this time. We do see some pockets of isolated thunder showers today across sections of French Guiana, Suriname, sections of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica. Not so much across Nicaragua, but Honduras, El Salvador, and sections of the Yucatan Peninsula definitely got in on some amount of rainfall. We do see some across sections of the southern United States and Florida associated with that cold front that we mentioned earlier. We can also see some isolated pockets of thunderstorms across sections of Hispaniola, western Puerto Rico, and even sections of southern Cuba. As it relates to the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean for today, we can see where we indeed had that isolated shower activity across sections of Puerto Rico, especially during the afternoon across sections of central and western Puerto Rico. And we do see some scattered isolated showers across sections of the US and British Virgin Islands. Not so much across the Leeward Islands, maybe one or two hit or miss showers. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, same thing. We don't see much happening across the region. Maybe sections of Dominica, Martinique might have gotten in some amount of rainfall today. Even Barbados, majority of the rainfall right there off to the southwest of the island. Not much either taking place across Trinidad, but maybe sections of eastern Tobago might have gotten in some amount of rainfall earlier this evening. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see all of that rainfall that we just mentioned across sections of French Guiana, Suriname, sections of northwestern Venezuela, Honduras, sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, southern Cuba, the Florida area right there. Definitely just like what we saw on the satellite images. As relates to the temperature forecast, we still see the above normal temperatures being experienced from the eastern to the western Caribbean, as indicated by those yellows and orange shades that represent 1 to at least 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. But we do see that South America is definitely getting on a tremendous heat wave, with all of those red colors that represent even up to 78 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures across some spots. So we do hope the residents of those areas are taking the necessary precautions, staying hydrated, so that they're not that drastically affected. As it relates to the Saran dust forecast, we don't see much happening across the Caribbean at this time. Hopefully this remains the same as we head into the hurricane season next year. We can see majority of the dust right there across the main development region, some of it even swirling into tropical depression 11 right at 2 p.m. on Saturday. As it relates to the wave forecast, we can see that we still have those below average wave heights across the western Caribbean, sections of the Bahamas, the Gulf of Mexico, as indicated by those lighter shades of blues, while we have the high wave heights being churned up by Hurricane Lee, Margot, and even now Tropical Depression 11, as indicated by those purples, reds, oranges. All of those represent up to 2 meter wave heights or more, while majority of the Caribbean should be getting in on those darker shades of blues that represent anywhere from 1 meter wave heights to at least 1.5 meter wave heights. We see that on both the Euro and the GFS model, and that's due to the fact that the winds are strongest wherever we see those systems: Hurricane Lee, Tropical Storm Margot, Tropical Depression 11, churning up the waters and bringing those stronger winds. The yellows represent 25 knot winds, the reds getting even more intense as we move on to the right, as we can see by the key at the bottom, while the Caribbean getting in on those green colors that represent 10 to 20 knots at most. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS model. I know that when they're showing this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. As it relates to the rainfall forecast, however, we do see that these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that we're expected to receive across the Caribbean region for the next 24 hours. So up until 10 p.m. on Saturday, we can see rainfall in store for sections of Florida, maybe southeastern Cuba, Hispaniola, so Haiti and Dominican Republic definitely going to be getting some amount of rainfall, maybe even some isolated flash flooding, even sections of Puerto Rico, maybe some isolated showers across sections of the Leeward Islands, maybe Martinique, maybe Guadeloupe and areas to the north of there. You can even see some rainfall coming in store for sections of French Guiana, Suriname, and southern Guyana, not to mention Venezuela, Colombia as usual, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and even Belize to receive some amount of rainfall. Even sections of Mexico, maybe some isolated showers across sections of the Cayman Islands as well. And if we take a look at the GFS model, we're seeing much of the same with the very areas that were just mentioned. I know that when both maps are showing the same thing like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.